Уважаемые коллеги, добрый день. Я рад приветствовать всех на
Dear colleagues, I welcome you all at our panel discussion dedicated to healthy urban system, and this is conducted within the framework of the Assembly, Healthy Capital. I would like to offer you all to take equipment for simultaneous interpretation, and let us start. Let's start our discussion. First of all, I would like to speak about my own impressions. I always participate in the events which are being conducted by Ministry of Healthcare of Russia and also Moscow associations. We speak always about the trends. Usually all trends start from Moscow. We will speak about social aspects. We'll speak about innovations, technologies, best practices with our colleagues and organizers from other regions. First of all, I would like to present the speakers. Alexei Yeliseev, the head of the Department of the Capital Repair Works of Moscow, Sergei Kuznetsov, the chief architect, Oleg Shapirov, the founder of Bureau, Poundhouse, Mick Cornett, mayor of Oklahoma City during 2004-2018, USA. Sergei Malazemov, TV presenter, writer, blogger, author of the program Living and Dead Food on NTV channel. And Maxim Akimov, president of the Moscow rental service Velobike, JSC City Bikes. I'm sorry to Victor Tatalyan. Victor Tatalyan, I'm very sorry that you are not here with us, and we will not know how to have a good diet. But you are in our audience. This is very good for our event. Today we have already seen a lot. At the plenary session, we had the presentation of Mr. Sabanian, Minister of Healthcare, Veronika Skvartsova. Also, we have the exhibition. At the exhibition, you can see our advanced technologies. And regarding me, I live in Yaroslav region since 2012. I have been living in Moscow, and in our metropolis in Moscow, we manage to combine modern technologies of architecture development, construction of different cultural objects, and also within last 5 years, also we create comfort urban environment. I would like to offer our speakers to exchange their views on these issues. Speaking about the experts' forecast, by 2050 we'll have more than 10 billion of people in the world, and more than 2/3 of population will be focused in metropolises and big cities. These urbanization processes have pluses, but also there are some disadvantages. And this is my professional evaluation, because I'm an organizer of healthcare system. We can take Moscow as an example. We do a lot, and in our capital of Russia, citizens feel comfortable. And we do everything for this. I would like to speak about novelties in the healthcare system. What do we implement in Moscow? We reconstruct a lot of buildings, also hospitals, healthcare centers, healthcare clinics, and we create conditions for having a healthy lifestyle. You can see how the image of Moscow has changed. People under the conditions of metropolises can ride bicycles. Even not only in their free time they can ride bicycles, but they can get to their work by bicycle right now. And now we have isolated bicycle lanes, and these bicycle lanes also promote this healthy lifestyle. Also, there are two positive trends in Moscow. Since 2013, we have been conducted screening programs for our population, and motivation of population is important here. People also should use these opportunities which we can give to them. In Moscow, we implement a new format of screening. For working people, it's so they need time to go to healthcare centers, and that's why within last year we have been realized this project, which is called Pavilions of Health. Everybody who wants to do screening can go to this Pavilion of Health, and for modern healthcare system, doctor competences are important. Sergei Sobyanin, our mayor of Moscow, has implemented a separate program, Moscow Doctor, Moscow Physician. Now I would like to give the floor to Alexei Eliseev, the head of the Department of Capital Repair Works of Moscow. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. So, how beautification can be connected with urban health? Sergei Sobyanin, our mayor, has spoken about the program. We have also Urban Forum, Urban Health, which is dedicated to this program. So all we do around the city reflects on health of the population, of the citizens. This is a very interesting indicator. Sometimes it's difficult to evaluate direct or indirect things like financing, but indirect social effect can be evaluated. Speaking about indicators, about length, width, kilometers, we can say that we have also the program My Street is unprecedented both for Moscow and also for the country, and it became the driver of development of many industries, and its goal is a person and is a citizen. Speaking about the results of this program, My Street, I can say that we not only changed the space image, but we changed lifestyle. A lot of people participate not only in moving in space, but they start to do sports, physical activities in the streets. People go wander around quite large sidewalks, and they get pleasure in this. We try to construct good big parks, big sidewalks, and I think this is very important for a population, for person's potential. He or she can have sports, recreational time, change lifestyle. I think this is right, because when we have this task to beautify this or that object, potential of this object is very important. Why do we do it, and for whom do we do this object, this venue? What will it benefit? What will be its benefit? First, we spoke about 6-7 So 6-7 years ago, we spoke about some sites. These were standard objects of downtown. But when we go to big parks, we always equipped them with different recreational functions. It can be leisure centers, sports centers, some playgrounds for kids. But now we are even more targeted. For example, we construct sites, and we know that these sites will be for sports, for physical activities. And some parks, so in some parks we made skiing slopes. We pay a lot of attention to bicycle lanes, but this is work of a big team, the team of architects, of designers, constructors, who try to make this work. And also we discuss this with citizens, with people who really participate in these discussions, participate in this program. A lot of streets became without any traffic in the city. It's very important for population, because and also there are cafes in these streets, leisure centers, also possibilities of some festivities, and there a lot of festivals can be conducted. People try to conduct healthy lifestyle, and we help them in this. This is continuation of this trend, and the basics of all this is safety, eco-friendliness, comfort. We want to create not only competitive advantages, fighting for people, fighting for human capital, but also this is a very important indicator for us, and this can lead to a longer life expectancy, because we create environment, comfortable environment, and it allows people to live healthy lifestyles, and so we have more active population in our city, and we become leaders of the world trend because of these programs. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alexei. I also shared my emotions from my life in capital. And we get accustomed to good things very quickly, but still we should remember what big changes we have done. Moscow is so also has a lot of new trends. What trends do you have now? New trends in Moscow? Please, can you share your opinion, Alexei? I have the presentation. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for this invitation. I will continue the presentation of Alexei. We are not linked directly with medicine and with the Ministry of Healthcare system, but still we have this connection, and I'm sure that I'm also busy in this sphere of healthcare system. This is also my experience. Honestly speaking, I don't like to face healthcare system. I'm afraid of doctors. I try to avoid them all the time. That's why I always do sports, control my health, and I succeed in this. I try to avoid doctors. But now in Moscow, we faced a lot of projects, and we had to find the core of the whole system, and then we could have some, small projects coming from this big project. And we made a decision. I think this is the right decision. I like this idea very much that everything which motivates people to take care of their health and to minimize doctors' visits, I think that's very important. This is really our victory. It's good when medicine does not have many customers, and this idea is the basic one for our projects. Last year we had Urban Forum in Moscow, very similar to this event, speaking about the scale. And the topic also, we had this topic at the Urban Forum, urban health. All international experts who come to our forum, Urban Forum, they also spoke about their ideas, and health is our main idea. I will speak about. I will speak about some basic things which are very important for the city. They are long term, and so the planning of our city development for 5-10 years. These are quite active measures. This project is being realized. You can see already the results. You can see the project of Moscow River development. Here there are many departments, transport, construction of bridges, but the basic idea of this river development is a possibility of people to discover the river, opportunities for themselves, to ride bicycles along the river, to swim in the river, to walk along the river. So river should be also a part of parcel of our healthy lifestyle. I'm a sportsman, and I like this idea very much. I also even participate in marathons, and so I can see that what we are doing, this motivates people to get involved. People come to us a lot, so we have done a lot. There are some well-known projects of embankments, and now maybe you know this, the embankment of Luzhniki district in Moscow. Luzhniki always were dedicated to sports, Luzhniki Stadium, and now also this is very important for our project. Luzhniki Stadium, this is a place for sports, for championships. We started to reconstruct Luzhniki Stadium, but Luzhniki Stadium were never for all people, amateur sports, but this is very important. The amateur sports is very important, and we decided to reconsider all this gigantic complex, Luzhniki, and I can say now. So we have events like very big events. Practically daily we have a lot of events, and at Luzhniki complex people spend a lot of time. I always use this infrastructure because I live very close to this place, Luzhniki complex. And speaking about other embankments, for example, Zaryadye Park, which is in the center of Moscow, also cannot be referred to the sports complex, but this is the heart of the city. Everybody knows about this Zaryadye Park. Everybody knows its pluses and minuses. And so before this park, we had a lot of traffic jams. And mostly people went by car, but we have the Moscow River, and people always used cars, but not going on foot in the heart of Moscow. And the idea of this park, Zaryadye, of course, we had a lot of ideas behind it, but the main idea of this park was to create the attraction. The place of attraction, and so we wanted to motivate people to walk in this around this park, then to go to the river because it's very close to the river. So the park, so 2019, in 2019, we had a 2-year anniversary of this park Zaryadye. 22 million of people within 2 years.
These are people who have been walking in this park. So just one site increased the efficiency and the activity of people in the central part of the city. So this is indeed a generator of healthy activities. These are just pictures of the park. It attracts people in all the seasons. The park organizes its own sports events. There is a joint marathon with Burbank in Zaryadye Park. There was also an event for football fans, and fans used the park as a point of gathering. People are really attracted to this park, and all the activities that are taking place there are quite positive and healthy. Here's the territory of Luzhniki that I have already mentioned. There is a number of sports sites here, and all these facilities, even those that have been created for some big performances, are also used for amateur and mass sports. I participated in the design of the big arena as an architect, and I also curated the contest for the aquatics palace. And the aquatics center includes a water park and a lot of pools for the public. So this is not just a sports site for the competition, but also a site for the mass sports and grassroots sports. It is used for daily services for general public. There are tennis courts, pools, and other facilities. This is a huge territory in the center of Moscow that is dedicated to the grassroots sports. It's a very good indicator of the development of sports in the city. Now a couple of words about the renovation program. It is now underway. 2/3 have already been implemented. We have still to implement 1/3 of this program. We are creating new public spaces, new pedestrian links between various neighborhoods. Our goal is to ensure the safe possibility to move between neighborhoods by foot and on bicycles. All of those are just pictures illustrating these initiatives. We also have a program called My District. The goal of this program is to identify new walking and running paths for people so that they go to the streets, stop watching TV, and spend time actively on the street. This is my last slide. So drawing the conclusion, I can say that this has helped us a lot in our work and in our projects. Today it is easier for us to check the quality of the projects and take decisions, because we ask ourselves every time if a project helps people to have a healthy lifestyle, does it motivate people to healthy activities. This has become the key issue for us, and we take health and well-being into account in all of our projects. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sergey. Indeed, the environment motivates. And I would now like to give the floor to Oleg Shapiro, co-founder of Wow House. He will speak about the future of cities and territories and approaches to harmonizing public spaces. May I get the clicker, please? Sorry, can you please put on my presentation? Well, As I'm waiting for my presentation, I'd like to say that what has now been discussed within large projects is being translated by us into some specific circumstances within specific projects. Over the last 10 years, we did quite a lot. First of all, people have come on the street. This is very important. The fact that people are now spending a lot of time on the streets of Moscow, they have appropriated the city. They walk in the city. The number of visitors of parks increased by 60%, and the visitorship of the central streets increased by 90% over the last 10 years. So this is ongoing progress. We are dealing with municipal and city-wide programs of renovation and improvement of Moscow. At the same time, we have some private companies such as MR Group and Donstroy developers. The ratio was 80/20 before, so we had 80% of public orders and 20% of private orders. But now it's 50/50, because today, in order to promote a development program, in order to sell big neighborhoods, you need to provide some quality urban and street environment. That means that the efforts of the government of Moscow to rethink urban environment have been a success. People now think that urban development and land improvement is crucial in any project, and they will not accept a development program without landscaping. Now we have parks where people can come and spend time in the urban nature. They can run, walk, or just sit and do nothing. That's also important. The number of those landscaped urban spaces has increased massively. As Sergei has mentioned, we can move around the city not just by car but also by foot. It will be pleasant to move from point A to point B. 10 years ago, we, as part of a big group, started working on the Gorky Park project. Then we included there the Neskuchny Garden area and the Vorobyovy Gory area. As a result, we have 8 kilometers of embankment that were landscaped and improved. This year we are planning to improve the Shevchenko embankment and Berezhkovskaya embankment. As a result, there will be a huge territory around which people will be able to move by foot or by bicycle, anyway without car. That's one side of our activity. Another thing is that we are creating a site, and a site is something very comprehensive. People need to exist and live comfortably in this environment. We have to attract people to this site. We have to make sure that every time people come, it's interesting for them to spend time there. It has to be interesting in summer and in winter, and it has to be dedicated to everyone. That is why we are conducting some preliminary research. We are conducting polls. We are developing scenarios about how people will use the site, what's the target audience, what's the anchor audience. It's clear that all of these are public spaces, but we have to design the space in such a way so that in the morning we accommodate a certain target audience that will be different from the evening target audience and the weekend target audience. All kinds of audience need to be happy on this site. Since I still have no presentation shown, I'm just going to speak about 3 cases. Soon we are going to inaugurate the Arkhangelsk Museum Mansion. If you have been there, you may have had the impression that it is small, but actually it is 600 hectares. It includes the natural preserve of Losiny Island. There is also the mansion itself and some other territories. Overall, that's a giant territory. But before we developed a master plan, only 14% of that territory was used. People come to this mansion to see the mansion, to walk in the park, and for some nature. Sberbank is building a big residential neighborhood for 80,000 people, and the Peak Development Group is building a neighborhood for 60,000 people. And the Arkhangelskoye Park and mansion will have to be preserved from massive influx of visitors. And our master plan included three parts. The first part concerned the mansion, the second part concerned the forest and park. We wanted to make sure that the mansion doesn't suffer from a high visitorship. And as of today, the 400 hectares have been improved, and I hope that both the mansion and the park are ready for this development, for the engulfment of this territory by Moscow. Another project is the park of 850th anniversary of Moscow. This park is located close to a refinery, and this territory surface is around 40 hectares. Under this territory there is an oil pipeline, and above it there is an electric transmission line. So some people are afraid of this area, but still there are other people that go there, have walks there, because there is a river nearby, there are rare species of birds there. It's very beautiful, and people have always been using bicycles and scooters to ride there. We are calling this park Oil Park in our bureau, because on the one hand the ecology in this neighborhood is not optimal, but on the other hand this is indeed beautiful nature. And we have noticed that all people who go to this park are moving. Some people are walking, but there are also some ski routes. There is also a biathlon stadium. And this territory is basically a territory for movement. And in order to protect people from the electric transmission lines, we are planning to organize a series of pergolas, and we would like to reintegrate this part of Moscow into the urban tissue. So apparently this is a territory where nothing can be done, and where it's better not for people to walk, but life has shown that people love going there, and we are starting to improve this area so that it is more pleasant to spend time. Another important point for people is psychological state. That is why we have several projects that are related to the improvement of mental state of the urban population. We organized what we call an urban farm and a children's zoo in our zoo, so that people could communicate with animals. It's not a true zoo. Children can come there to communicate between each other, to communicate with the animals. They can feed the animals, they can talk to the animals, play with them, care for them. Everything is done in a humane way. The animals can just go to their place if they don't want communication with children. In general, in life, people are connected to animals, and animals are connected to people. and all this communication between animals and people take place in the form of a game. For example, kids can interact with rabbits and then enter into a rabbit hole, a simulation of the rabbit hole, of course, that is built nearby. They can also slide into a swimming pool. All of that has opened in September, and we are still planning to improve this project. So over the last 10 years, Moscow has made a huge step into being an integrated, multidisciplinary, boundless environment. And Moscow is now among the leaders of transformation of a city into a human-centric place of living. Thank you very much, Oleg. I have been looking at the faces of our participants, and I would like to ask about whether that program of communication with animals is something voluntary. Of course. You are right that these approaches can help us to form a human-focused environment in a big megacity. Thank you once again. Viktor Tetelyan, academician of the Russian Academy of Sciences, scientific head of a federal research center of nutrition, biotechnologies, and food safety. Food is, of course, a basic element of safety of a megacity dweller. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. We have been speaking about Moscow now. I love Moscow. I come from Moscow. For me, Moscow is the best city on earth. But taking into account what has been said by my colleagues, I'd like to ask, whom are these urban improvement plans dedicated to? The answer is to Muscovites. And Muscovites are represented by children, women, men, elderly people, people above 80 years of age, and all these people have to be healthy. And the basis of health of all these people is healthy nutrition. It's not a mere coincidence that I'm showing this new bill that is now under consideration of the State Duma, and on the 23rd of February it will be considered in the second reading. This is a bill about amending the federal law on quality and safety of food. So on the legislative level, the notion of healthy nutrition will be defined, and the main principles of healthy nutrition will also be enumerated. This bill will soon hopefully turn into a law, and I hope that it will allow us to make progress in the nearest future. So what is healthy nutrition? It is strict implementation by young and elderly, by women and men, by rich and poor, and strict respect by them of the laws of nature. The laws of nature should not be infringed by anyone, because otherwise people will lose health and die.
So the first law of nutrition, this is the balance between moving, so losing of energy and gaining energy. Energy, we get energy from food, not from solar energy, as some people say, and in the process of metabolism in our gastrointestinal tract at the level of cells, this important processes happen, and energy is being formed at the cell level, and only we can get energy from this process. When we get energy, we spend it. If we don't spend this energy, it's accumulated in our body in the form of fat, and fat usually is accumulated in some particular parts of our body. First, so people respond to overweight person. You look very well, you gain a little bit weight, but then you look at your scale, you can see that you gain weight endlessly, and then already women don't pay attention to you anymore, or men, if you are a woman, they don't pay attention to you in the subway, they don't pay attention to you in the street, and then it leads to a lot of diseases, strokes, cardiovascular diseases, hypertension, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, a lot of different diseases. Can we avoid all this? Of course we can. Moscow and Muscovites should be, should be an example for all other cities and for for the rest of the population of Russia. Moscow has a lot of conditions for this. We have good food production. And this is the first law. It seems that it is easier to be to be in compliance with skill and then your willpower. But then there is the second law about nutrition. This is chemical ingredients of nutrition should be in compliance with our physiological needs in food and biologically active ingredients. How much do we need? Please look at this. This is a nutrium. This is a combination of all needed chemical ingredients for us. We need about 170 compounds, 170 chemical compounds among them. About 70, these are irreplaceable ingredients. If we have them in our nutrition, we are healthy. If we don't have them in our diet, we get sick, we lose health, and in some heavy situations, even life we can lose. How can we get this nutrition, chemical ingredients, 170 from diet? Of course, you can get protein with milk, with fish, with meat, or with some insects maybe, or some other new sources of food, maybe biotechnological sources of food. Now we have huge potential here. The market is being saturated with new resources, with new types of food, and we have to get this. But we got used to traditional food. That's why the basics of our nutrition and diet today, tomorrow, will consist of traditional food products. But now it's quite difficult to get all what we need. Why is it so difficult? Why is it a challenge for us to get what we need? Because we have to pay for everything. So we have civilization, we have elevators, we have transport cars, and we have sensor management. 30 years ago, we were sorry for women. They are so unfortunate. They come from work home. They have to work. They have to do some chores around the house. Now women have sensor management. They have washing machines and robots, some devices. So they don't spend their energy. Women don't spend their energy. And now we only hope to change our mindset of physicians, first of all, and then through the physician we can change our mindset. We can become healthier, we should have physical activities and healthy diet. In this case, we can balance our net energy spending and energy consumption. Civilization took away our energy spending, and we should have this physical activity. We should do this ourselves now. And this is harmony. Maybe we violated this harmony, we ruined it. And I explained it already. I can explain this one more. So food as a source of energy is not so needed anymore within last 3 years. So by 1.5 thousand kilocalories. And that's why the diet, and this is 1,700 kilocalories. It's okay for men, 2,000, 2,200 kilocalories per day. And this is fine. We like to have meal, and food should be available, and now we have more available food. But our nutrition is redundant. Too many calories we have in our diet. 55% of population above 30 years old are overweight, and 26% are obese. I will skip these slides. A lot of people have are overweight, and this is 60% of women, 55% of men are overweight, and 26% are obese, with a lot of diseases accompanying this. 23% in Russia, obese people, and in Moscow, 24%. What if we don't have a healthy lifestyle? In this case, there will be diseases. So 50% this is diet, then 1/3 this is physical activity. If we are not in compliance with this, this can lead to a lot of diseases: cardiovascular, diabetes, osteoporosis, oncological diseases even. So we have to prevent this. And healthy diet can prevent 80% of myocardial infarction, strokes, and diabetes. That's why. So here on this slide you can see that we eat too much sugar, too much bread, sausages. It means fat. This is the data of last year. The Atlas of Health was published last year. The Atlas of Nutrition, and how how nutrition can influence on our health. So you can see that around the country we have redundant consumption of fat, highlighted by yellow. So territories highlighted by yellow, still there is exceeding of fat consumption, deficit of C vitamin, calcium deficit, and in Russian Standard Organization now invent some new technologies to check quality of food. And for example, dairy products dairy product is the main source of calcium, but now we know that dairy products have a lower content of calcium. These are our violations: lack of vitamins, folic acid, deficit of folic acid. 30% of women who are pregnant have the deficit of folic acid in the first trimester of pregnancy, and this can lead to a lot of damages of fetus, and this is for the whole life of these children. So you can see a lot of deficit of many ingredients. Also decline of adaptive possibilities. You can see also an increase of obese people, deficit of micronutrients, vitamins, biologically active components. This is 50% of people in the audience. If you don't consume minerals and vitamins, you have deficit of vitamins and minerals, especially in spring, winter, spring seasons, and this can lead to the risk of pathology development. You can see highlighted by red. These are obese cities. Moscow is an obese city. 24% of obese people, Muscovites, and and Moscow should be a good example for everybody. You can see deficit of D, B vitamins, and children have also deficits in vitamins. And how do we confront nature? We don't need so much food now because we don't spend so much energy, but still we have this need for micronutrients, but the food so the food density is the same, the content of healthy ingredients is the same. That's why in all countries and in Russia we have this deficit of micronutrients. So people try to be slim, to be healthy, but still people now have this deficit of vitamins and other micronutrients. And then there can be decline of your immune system, worsening of your immune system, which can lead to the disease. Food of the 21st century. So Moscow can afford it. These are traditional. This is traditional food, genetically modified natural product. Through new technologies, we made raw materials become different. We increase omega-3 fatty acids in food ourselves with the help of genetically modified products, but we're still afraid of it. We don't permit to produce this in Russia. We can buy genetically modified products, but they're checked, and so we are very protected from unfavorable effects of genetically modified products. But now we have another problem, this technological modification of natural products. At the level of technological process, we remove what we don't need, for example, fat, and we can add some fiber ingredients and some vitamins, and there are many of such many of such products, like dairy products. So everybody tries to buy milk with a low fat content, and then biologically active supplements. These are not medications. These are also natural micronutrients. Doctors can prescribe this, and they are very good, very convenient. They can be in the form of capsules, tablets, and here you can see the trends of food industry development, maximum personalization, individualization. You come to a shop and you can choose something for your mom, for example. Your mom is fat, so you buy low-calorie foods. for children, you can buy some food with vitamins. And now, yes, we have already this, but unfortunately, a lot of imported product. But we have to develop our domestic food industry. We should provide ourselves fully with this domestic food. So personalization now is extremely important because we have all our specialities, and this is a very interesting direction, very interesting trend. I will not mention these food products because I don't have so much time, but here you can see vitamins and mineral complexes, biologically active supplements. These are the countries which use these supplements every day, and their life expectancy is longer. Japan 85%, the USA 80%, and Europe 60% consumption, and Russia you can see only 20% consumption, even less of these supplements. And life expectancy, next scheme. So now our average life expectancy is 70 years old. The USA is closer to 80 years old. Japan above 80 average life expectancy. But we have the goal 80 plus life expectancy, average life expectancy. I will not speak about food safety because these are, should be controlled by the government. I would like to show my last slide. I skip all the slides, But if you have questions to me, you can ask these questions after this session. Education. Now we are having this process, education, at this conference. So education is the most, the best way to improve health. You can be rich and sick, or you can be not so rich but healthy, quite healthy. And life expectancy. Now we are here, and our goal is to live 80 years old, and even to live longer than 80. We should prolong life. And for this, we should consume should consume products with health ingredients starting from childhood. That children need good nutrition, good diet, and women should also consume vitamins because she is responsible for health of her future child. She's responsible always. She needs to give birth to healthy children. So the first 1,000 days, this is pregnancy, and 2 years, so the first years of a child are very important. And yesterday we heard the president's words about this. He will take care about this, and we should be also responsible for this. For example, the mother should even buy maybe expensive food because it's important for her future child. And Moscow now can afford it. And also school, food, diet for school kids. Moscow is ready. What about the president? The president also mentioned about it. By 2023, the whole Russia should be provided with this good school diet.
The prospects are quite promising. There are a lot of opportunities. The level of education and the implementation is our responsibility. The doctor knows what's needed. Media should participate in that as well. And yesterday we had a discussion at the level of State Duma about their readiness to provide some TV and radio broadcasting channels to conduct educational and awareness-raising programs. So Moscow is ready to do that, so let us act together to put Moscow in the first place in the world. Thank you. Actually, the issue is quite relevant indeed, and we have here expert Mick Cornett. Between 2004 and 2018, he has been mayor of Oklahoma City. He is going to speak about how to fight obesity as one of the main challenges for humanity today using the cityscaping.
Well, it is great to be back in Moscow. Good to see so many people on such a subject that's so important to me. I was the mayor of Oklahoma City, a metropolitan area of about 1.3 million, between 2004 and 2018. And soon after I was elected mayor, we were selected as one of the most obese cities in the United States. And you can imagine when you're the mayor of a city and you get on a list that you don't want to be on, you immediately try to think, well, what could I do? What can I possibly do about obesity? Well, we started an awareness campaign, and ultimately 47,000 people took part and wound up losing 1 million pounds, which is about 12 kilograms each. But it was only after the weight loss program was started that I really started to see an even bigger problem, and that was with the infrastructure of the city. Like most Western cities in the United States, we were expanded in the 20th century, and the city was almost completely designed with the automobile in mind. And so the idea was to see how fast we could get a car from here and across the city. And our engineers were really good at it. There was virtually no traffic congestion in the city, and traffic flowed freely back and forth. But it also set up a very unhealthy pattern for our lives. We didn't really build sidewalks in the city for people to walk. We didn't really build many paths for jogging or biking. We didn't really have a whole lot of exercise opportunities. We had parks, but there really wasn't much activity, much programming going on in them. And it was only after we realized that we had to change our way of thinking that we started making progress. And the way I described it at the time was, we have built this city around the automobile, now we're going to redesign it around people. And how does that look different? Well, as you can imagine, it accentuates the pedestrian. It allows the pedestrian to not have to fight the automobile at every intersection. We have built hundreds and hundreds of miles of sidewalks. We've built 100 miles of jogging and biking trails. We built senior health and wellness centers for that baby boom generation that's likely to live a long time, and I think it's in everyone's best interest that they live long, healthy lives. And indeed, the anecdotal feedback we're getting is that people who hardly ever left their homes are now going into these senior wellness centers, and even if they never pick up a weight or run a lap or swim in the swimming pool, at least they're out socializing with their newfound friends. And we have found that it's very, very unhealthy for a person to just stay inside all day and not socialize with other people. And so the social health is another important part of the city. We also realized that if you're going to create amenities for people to come visit, like a lot of people have in their downtown central cities, you need to be able to bring them into a place that is friendly to the pedestrian. You don't try to rush people across the streets. And you have narrow streets. In Oklahoma City, we had mostly one-way streets that were 5 lanes across. You can imagine how long it took and how uncomfortable the pedestrian felt having to cross all those many lanes of traffic. Well, we narrowed the streets. We put on-street parking out there to to add to the safety feature of it, and we heavily landscaped them with trees and flowers, and we made it a more interesting journey. Well, it's now been 10 to 15 years since we initially started that program, and now we're starting to see the results. Across the board, our health statistics are improving. Less heart disease, fewer strokes, people are living longer. And it all goes back to the culture of a community, and you can't change the culture of a community quickly. It takes 10 or 20 years to change the culture of a community. But I'd like to think that the young people that are now growing up in Oklahoma City are growing up in a healthier environment, and one that is more apt to get them to ride a bike or to walk. I also speak a great deal about making small improvements in your lives. You know, I think too often health officials will only talk about the ideal thing to consume, lots of fruits and vegetables, or to get so much exercise. And I try to talk to people about just doing better than you were yesterday, continued improvement. If you're having trouble with your weight, it probably means eating a little less. It might mean eating differently, but it almost surely meets one of those criteria. Sometimes I think we talk too much about exercise when we're talking about a person that's obese. In my view, if a person is obese, they're probably not going to be able to exercise their way out of it. It's almost certainly going to have to accompany some sort of change in their food behavior. And the last thing I'll mention is just keep moving. I wear a watch that keeps track of my steps, and almost every day I'll get over 10,000 steps in. Sometimes I have to sit on a treadmill for a while, but I try to get it in an actual course of the day. If there's an opportunity to take the stairs instead of the elevator, I will always choose to take the stairs. And those are small steps in a person's life, but if you do that day after day, week after week, month after month, it can truly extend your life. It's about taking that old culture where everything in life seemed to revolve around the automobile and moving it to a situation where it involves people and a healthier environment. It's great to be back in Moscow, and I've seen great improvement in your infrastructure here since the last time I visited. So congratulations on the steps that you're taking, and I can see you're on the way.
Спасибо.
Thank you, Mick, and thank you for your appreciation of our beloved city. Now, another small piece about health and nutrition. I'm going to give the floor to Sergey Malozyomov, TV presenter, author of the program Food Living and Food Dead on NTV channel of Russia. Thank you. I speak on TV about the things mentioned by Mr. Tutelyan and Mr. Cornet, and I'm trying to prove that you can spend not a lot of money, but you can make a small effort and as a result eat well and have enough physical activity. Fortunately, thanks to the Moscow government, we have a lot of opportunities for that. For example, I think that a huge impact in the improvement of health of the Muscovites has been exercised by the transport policy of Moscow. Parking has been restricted and public transport has been developed. I purchased my car in 2011 and I'm not going to change it because its mileage is 14,000 kilometers only. Otherwise, I'm using public transport of Moscow. I live close here in the Sviblovo district, and I use tram or metro and then an electronic bus to go to work, and all of that is amazing. As for the Yauza River embankment that was not mentioned in the presentations, but I'd like to mention it because it has also been improved and there are a lot of opportunities to walk or bike there. I'm also trying to explain to people that you can purchase regular products in regular supermarkets and be a healthy person. The trick is to select the products well. Victor's presentation showed that Russians eat too much bread, sugar, and sausages. I'm trying to explain that you have to eat less of that, but purchase more fruit and vegetables, because even if they are not biological, if they don't are not the result of biological agriculture, they are still good. Maybe they have become a bit less nutritious, but still they are quite fine. And I'm using regular supermarkets, not bio supermarkets, to purchase them. At the same time, of course, we need products more rich in vitamins and minerals. So from time to time, you have to include in your diet microgreenery or algae or nuts. We need to have a sufficient choice of these products, and in order to achieve that, the Moscow government probably has to reinforce its work aimed at competition development, so that among supermarkets we have not just low-end supermarkets, but high-end supermarkets, as is developed in the US, or the weekend markets, for example. They already exist in Moscow, but that could be further developed when farmers could come and sell something directly. When I went to Los Angeles, I went to one of the weekend markets, and everything was there. There was microgreenery, all kinds of fruit, vegetables, berries, and so on. Around Moscow, we have a lot of producers of everything that you might think of. The day before yesterday, I went to Azerbaijan, Baku, and the local producers were complaining that it's impossible to carry fruits and vegetables through Dagestan without levies and taxes. And if these corruption issues are resolved, all of that would be easier. Of course, I know that it's not a problem of the Moscow government, but still, this is something that could be improved. Another subject we should discuss is smoking. Of course, laws have become stricter already, but still, one has a feeling that we miss fresh air from time to time. My daughter is 5 years old, and every morning we go out the Babushkinskaya metro station, and we are inhaling, and then we are slowly exhaling when we enter the metro station to avoid the smoke that engulfs every metro station entry in Russia. In spite of the laws, people smoke massively at public transport stops, next to the entries to the shopping malls, next to the entries to some other institutions and organizations. I don't know what can be done about it. So I believe that something needs to be done about that, perhaps at the level of propaganda and awareness raising, and maybe at the level of regulation. All in all, I believe that Moscow is a city that gives a lot of opportunities to live well and to be healthy if you know how to do it. We are going to make a special edition of our program on the 1st of February, and we are going to show the results of my detailed tests for vitamins and minerals. I gave my blood and my hair to identify a number of parameters. I take only vitamin D. So I'm not following really Viktor Tutyelan's recommendations, but still I have no deficiency in any vitamins or minerals, and I'm using regular and low-end supermarkets, so everything is possible. In addition, there are a lot of inexpensive sports clubs today. Competition is well developed in that area. Recently, I prolonged my annual subscription that cost me 14,000 rubles for unlimited visits of a sports club with a swimming pool next to my work. 14,000 years per year, 14,000 rubles per year. This is possible in Moscow thanks to a high competition level, so one has all the opportunities to remain healthy. And I'd like to seize this opportunity to address our audience. I would like to wish you health, and I promise that I'm going to continue spreading this knowledge. From the 1st of February, we are going to change the name of our program, and it will be called just healthy food with Sergey Malezyomov. So we're not going to speak about dead food anymore. We are going to try to bring as much benefit as possible. Thank you. I'd like to give the floor to Maxim Akimov, president of the Moscow rental service Velobike. Good afternoon. I've lived in Moscow for quite a while already, almost since birth, and I'd like to thank all of those who are participating in what's happening to Moscow right now. Because I, as a resident, can say that indeed there are more places to run and to bike and to have physical exercise. In my childhood, I did not love running, and now for 4 years I've been running, and I get a lot of pleasure of that, as well as a lot of benefit. So I would like to thank you as a Moscow resident. The city is changing indeed to the better. Before, when I was traveling, I got back to Moscow and told my friends how well everything is organized abroad. And now I witness the contrary. Some other countries are missing what Moscow has. So we really caught this international trend, and since 2013 we have been developing the Moscow bike rental service. I now represent this rental service, and this has also an impact on the well-being, health and sports. That is why I was invited here today probably, so I would just like to boast some of our achievements. First of all, as of today, the project is developing in 55 countries of the world, and there are more than 800 cities covered by this project. Moscow is among the leaders here. Quite often we were using the experience of European, Asian and American partners, but in this case that was vice versa. For example, Paris representatives came to us to see our experience, and based on our achievements they were implementing their bike rental projects, which is one of the biggest ones today. If we compare the mileage per bike per day, Moscow is among leaders. In New York, every bike is used 6 times per day, and in Moscow it is used 6.1, 6.2 times per day. So we are among leaders and trendsetters in this area. In Russia, Velobike is a company that is working together with the Moscow government and the Moscow Transport Department. We have been involved in the project since the very beginning, and I'd like to seize this opportunity to thank my colleagues, because this was quite a long-term vision, as bike rental service is really in demand among the Moscow residents. There have been 14 million trips per year, and 2018 was really a turning point for us.
And in Moscow we had a very important sports event, football World Cup. It attracted a lot of foreign tourists, and foreign tourists already got accustomed to use bicycles at home, and they continued to use bicycles also in Moscow. And now this year we have more than 5 million rides only per 1 year. I will not show many slides. The first thesis I wanted to share, this is to say that we are here one of the world leaders in all directions, and this service is developing. Every year we buy new bicycles, new neighborhoods are added in Moscow, and now we have bicycle rent even outside of Moscow circle line, so it means outside of the center of the city. To the outskirts, and every year we plan to increase a number of bicycles and parking lots. About 1,000 bicycles will be added every year in Moscow, and we know that will also increase the share of electrical bicycles. Of course, maybe it's not very sporty, but still we'll have this increase. Please use bicycles more actively. Scooters also, please use scooters, because it will save our environment. Even Pechkin said, this is from the Russian cartoon, that he had bad mood because he did not have bicycle. That was his joke. And now please walk more, enjoy life, enjoy weather, city, and good, and Moscow. Thank you very much. Really, this is a unique opportunity, and the next speaker will speak about this, how to run properly. Please, Mr. Zhurila, Maxim Zhurila, founder of I Love Super Sport. So, you know that I will not speak a lot about running, about jogging, and Sergei Kuznetsov also participated in marathons, chief architect of Moscow. And I will speak, so first of all, I also had this journey, so 115 kilos I weighed, I was obese, then I started to run, and I lost some weight. This was 10 years ago, and then I ran my first marathon in New York. I was preparing for New York Marathon in Moscow, and I met many running people, but a lot changed within this last decade. And on top of that, we invented the project which involves some sports activities, biathlon, skiing, running, and we engaged a lot of people. So I will show you ideas how you can involve people. But this slide is in English, but I will translate it. So the key challenge at this conference is the following: good health is not value really. I mean, not really the value by itself. It means it's not a trigger for people. It's not value for people. So people, of course, raise glasses, give toasts to the health. But sometimes for people it's not really a value. And we made an experiment. People smoke a lot, and volunteers came to smoking people and asked them, is it important for you to stay healthy? And these people answered, yes, of course, it's important for me to be healthy, but they smoke with pleasure. So health means also some activity. So if people have goals, they will try to improve health. But if people don't have goals, they will not have they will not want to be healthy so much. They will not be so motivated. That's why activity is very important and goals are important for people. And cities can influence on citizens. You should not. It doesn't make any sense to promote health because everybody knows that health is important. But we can give sense, some other senses to people. There are two axes. The first axis, this is attitude of people, his personal attitude, willpower, idea, and then environment, the next axis. Please imagine that you have this idea to have good diet, but around you you have only fast food, McDonald's, cheap and cheerful. But good food is far away and expensive. And of course, the majority of people will go to these fast food places. But if a person has an idea to jogging, to run, but the closest place is far away, and in the middle of nowhere, these people, even motivated, will not do this. So environment is the key factor, one of the key factors, this environment can really decline motivation of people. For example, if environment does not work for people, even willpower, attitude will not work. The same regarding one. For example, if environment is one, people will realize their ideas to some extent. But also environment can can increase, can improve attitude of people towards healthy lifestyle. And secondly, this is attitude itself. But regarding this attitude, we also can influence on this attitude. There is a lot of knowledge which is called social influence system. Social influence is a very interesting thing, and it differs from propaganda. So people are involved to some activities thanks to other people. So people see what other people do, they start thinking about this, and in these cases they start small steps and reconsider their activities. For example, there are open spaces and stadiums. When there are stadiums, people don't know anything about this because it's closed. They don't know what building it is. People don't know about it. And now, please imagine that if in the neighborhood, in open space, there is the football field, and it's always illuminated even at night. And in the darkness. In this case, citizens pass by this illuminated venue, illuminated field. First, people will just pay attention to this. Then there will be people who play football there because they like football. Then there will be maybe a question in a person's mind: why don't I play football? Maybe in 1-2 months, this person, maybe he's a father, he has a son, maybe he will take his son to this field and they play football. So this is social influence, and this is really works wonders. You can see some pictures here. For example, you can see here Finland and the parking lot around school. You can see bicycles in snow. Some people say that we don't have bicycles in Moscow because there is a lot of snow. It's not true. We just need critical mass of people who would like riding bicycles. So in this case, we can have this social influence tools. For example, if I have the park close to my place, of course, that's good. But if, for example, in the subway, we also have also near the subway we have the park, and it's also good. And for example, we can have also some screens near these parks and subways which show how many people walked through parks to the subway. And these are like public screens, and people will see these screens and also maybe this social system will influence on them. Moscow also has a long way to go, but still we did a lot of things, but still this journey is long term. We have a lot of things to do regarding bicycles and a lot of other aspects. So environment is the key thing. Where should we go? Maybe you should go. You just should pick a day and go around Kutuzovsky Prospect, and this is quite a wide prospect in Moscow. And then you will understand that we should narrow the street and we should have more sidewalks around this prospect, and we should have more lanes for bicycles around this prospect. And in this case, we can use also the tools of social influence, and everybody will be super healthy. Thank you very much. I think that our colleagues from Moscow government also presented their views, and now so I would like to express this opinion that our capital, Moscow, is a trendsetter, and here we have best practices. We have been realizing them within the last 5 years. And also we have the national, very important national project, Comfort Urban Environment and Healthy Lifestyle within the framework of this project. Demography is also essential. And, social public organizations are very important. We have the vice president of All Russian Organization, League of Nations, Nikolai Kononov, and within the last 10 years, together with Mr. Bakhteri, he has been doing this. I even saw our viewers wrote down something in the notes. I hope that it was useful for you. I wish you all strong health. And speakers spoke a lot about responsibility. Maybe you should be responsible always of your health. And Moscow, our capital, always gives us all possibilities for this. Thank you very much.